Right. So the last thing that we need to talk about is managing risks. Obviously, in business, there's always risks. That's kind of the way it works. I guess it would be nice to hear from you guys about maybe strategies for managing risks in your area of the industry, and what do you do to try and help prevent bad things happening. And yeah, so that'd be great. Could we start over there?
Risks. I think I'm in a position now to kind of say I'm managing my risk, but I think when I first started, when I was running more PA and equipment hire, that's when the risks were high. Constant repairing of equipment, the profit was just sinking and sinking. Fortunately, I built that up and persisted with that, where I'm in a position where I've become the product itself, do you know what I mean? So I think, touch wood, I'm guaranteed to get paid when I go out, if you know what I mean, and come back. So I don't think there's ever a risk there. Again, I'm touching wood because it'll probably happen tonight. It won't pay me after the gig tonight, but for the first time in 10 years. I can't really foresee any risks. It's just looking after yourself, looking after your product. And they're the risks. If I start pissing people off and cause my attitude, have childish behaviour, mess around in meetings, people aren't going to want me in there again. My risk is myself, So I've got to protect my myself,
Your IP, which is you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Can we just pick up on that? Because you were saying, like, tonight, there's a risk you won't get paid.
No.
See, but you're confident about that, aren't you? So I'm just wondering where that's. I suppose that's the reason that you're confident is because you've managed that risk in some way.
Well, it's a bit harsh how I did it last time. Yeah. There has been an issue last time, and it has involved non-payment, and it's also involved people throwing my mics around, damaging them. I've basically taken their equipment as insurance.
Right.
And that's how I've managed that. And usually I've got my money the day after.
Right. Okay.
You've just got. It's a bit like you've got to be nice, but sometimes you've also got to be nice, ruthless.
Right. Okay.
I think Dan's saying is that within the music industry, there are cowboys who just want the glamour of it all and just want to put a gig on and stuff, and they're just not business people. And sometimes you get to a gig and you can recognise these sort of people really quickly, and you're there to do a job regardless, but sometimes you just cannot factor in people being morons, basically. Because, on the whole, people are stupid. And regardless of how hard you work, there's always going to be somebody that you will have to work with who doesn't work professionally, who doesn't work hard, who doesn't have the funds to pay you and has blagged you to get you onto this gig. So there's always going to be a risk. I had to jump in.
No. Well, I've been really cheesy with a lot of things, but there's the classic phrase of, prepare to fail, fail to prepare. Other way around, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. Sorry. There you go. I've obviously failed on that one. But that's it, if you don't prepare. And it's also as well, if you sort of, in preparation, lower your expectations of everything in general, because if you, as a baseline, think that and it sounds awful, in a baseline, if everyone's a moron, then people surprise you, which is nice. It's a horrible way, and it's a bit cynical, but you do have to be quite hard-faced, because you'll get screwed over if you don't.
People will promise you the earth, but until you have something in writing, or until you have that cash in your hand, it means nothing. People can say they can do things for you, but until they actually do it, or give you a contract for it, then it means nothing.
Yeah, know what questions you have to ask. I mean, as a touring band, you turn up to so many venues, and at the end of the night they're going, "Oh, we didn't sell enough ale. That's your fault." You went, "Well, we didn't agree that." So agree all those things. That what's the cap or what's the level the bar has to hit for you to get paid? How many people have to be in the door? Work out whose responsibility that is. When really it's not yours, because it is and it isn't. It depends on the deal, and you got to know that deal before you turn up. But as sort of an example of managing risk, it's a bit different for me and Milk Slice. But as I said, the product that bands are that we're launching, it's not the first product that we tried to launch. We looked at a different take on a music distribution platform, where it was going to be like a crowd-funded thing, so subscription-based distribution model, so that you as a band, no matter what level, so you could be Lady Gaga or three-piece garage band, whatever, and you could charge a certain amount a month to distribute your stuff. And it was great, and I was like, oh, that sounds like sort of a nice idea, or an alternative, certainly not a brand new solution. But what it came down to was the legal fees that we may have to incur as a distribution platform. And yeah, we had really talented people there to build the tech and for it to be like a nice fluffy user experience and stuff, but what if somebody from Birkenhead uploads a remix of David Guetta and then sells it? You know, they're not in trouble, it was me. So we had to just blitz the whole project. And that was a bit of a lack of foresight, me being a bit wet behind the ears. Was
it? Because if you'd have gone ahead and launched that product and got yourself in trouble, that would have been a lot worse, wouldn't it?
I would have been over, yeah.
So,
but it was naive not to consider the legal ramifications.
Right, straight away.
Trying to do something nice for the music industry.
Okay.
Straight away,
yeah.
And to pour so much time into it.
Great. Okay.
But off the back of that, the relationships that I developed and sort of the like Liverpool Acme, for example, that the Liverpool Sound City works very closely with. They do one-on-one entrepreneurship mentoring, and that's not just for business people. It's for a band, because you are a business, you're a product. They'll sit down, they'll talk about you and your product and what you can do. And I've made great contacts through that. So now when we've got a viable product in Bandar, hopefully, you've got all those relationships, you've got that network of people that can help you out and get excited about your thing. So in failure, there was a result. And around that other thing, there was, as I said, that piece of white paper research, which is just brilliant. It's actually physically worth money to sell that data or research to someone. And again, that sort of ties back into, I think I was going to chat to Ben, do a bit of a plug for it, possibly get some of you up to, we're going to have a session up in Liverpool in October on the 18th, talking about opportunities as a musician. It's not just about writing, or sometimes it's about playing the physical music in a session band or writing your own music, but if those are the core things that you want to do and maybe you're not making enough money to do it, you can still be in the industry. You could be writing music for TV, you could be doing it for games and things like that. So we've assembled a panel of a couple of people from across different industries who have looked at that. They can go out at night time, and one of them's in like a glam rock band. He can put his sparkly leotard on and do his thing. But actually he sits and makes really like dull, like elevator music during the day. So it's about exploring those opportunities as well. And that risk, because he knows he's going to get paid every day, or once he's done that, because he's got the contract, and then he can go out and be a bit risky at night time.
I think it's important what you're saying, because you mentioned your failed business equally with the upcoming one, because it's interesting to use that failure as a strength, because you can prevent risks happening by just having your head screwed on and making sure the contract's there and that sort of thing, and seeing receipts. And I've been screwed over by promoters who haven't paid me as much as I think I'm owed, but I can't prove it because I haven't seen exactly what the backhander was for that local hood or something. Because there's always some places you don't know about these things. You think, well, I was on an 80% cut of door after costs, and I'm getting this small amount of it, and I saw that there was a huge crowd there, and yet I probably am getting that percentage after costs, but I just don't know what the costs were. And so seeing those receipts, but then when the inevitable problem does happen, which you couldn't foresee, you make it part of your myth, because that's the most important thing. Because if you're sort of setting out to be a music personality or a label or anything like that, it's a narrative. It's an interesting story. You look at all those those famous labels and bands from the last 50 years. They've all got they've got at least a book in them, and all those things they're relevant. So
and that's what they actually that's their new sustainable thing.
Yeah.
They go around and they talk on panels and books, and they be sort of personalities.
But with my band, we've done plenty of these awful gigs where you kind of go and we termed the phrase memoir fodder. And anything goes bad, I go, that's one for the memoirs. Because
hashtag years as well, isn't it?
Probably, I make anything a hashtag. But also, everyone's got, as I've seen in the Blues Brothers when they're doing that country and western bar, and the sax player goes, chicken wire. There are chicken wire gigs, and we always say chicken wire, because you get there and go, this is going to be awful, isn't it? Oh, well, chicken memoir fodder. So it's about sort of making those failures into successes as well. Stories.
Yeah, so that's a risk management strategy itself, isn't it? Putting a spin on something.
Yeah.
Or
It's all spin.
yeah,
Yeah.
to make it into a positive event.
I think in my line of work, it's a lot clearer of how I can manage risks, because basically, when I do a gig, I've got a set fee. If I'm doing a wedding, I've got a set fee, so I know exactly how I'm getting paid and how much I'm getting paid. Now, the way that I manage it as well is, if somebody wants to book a gig with my band, they have to put a 25% deposit down, which is non-refundable within 6 months of the date. And I make all this very clear. I make very clear of the methods of payment they can do, and then when it comes up to the gig, I make sure that they either transfer the money, the remainder, the balance, within 5 days to clear before the gig, or it's cash on the night, never checks, because checks can bounce. So it's just simple things like that. It's like they're getting a product and they have to pay for it. It's like you don't go into a shop and say, oh, can I have that TV? I'll give you the money once I've had enough people come round to watch the football, and I'll take money from them. You wouldn't. It's when you're doing music and you're doing gigs and stuff and you're working with promoters. It's a very what's the word? It really only happens in that world. So but when you're doing function work, it's very more clear cut. I don't do gigs where I have to sort out selling tickets because it's not worth my while. Who really wants to just come see a function band? If it's a tribute band, that's different. But I get paid for doing a gig. Otherwise, I'm not doing it. I pay for play. I play for pay. I do some words that rhyme. So there's that. And then there's when you're doing music as well, doing function work, there's other things that you have to come across. One is pat testing, which is, as any musician or anybody has to do pat testing, is a con, basically, but it's something that you have to do. And does anybody know what pat testing here is? So basically it's you have to get your equipment tested that it's not going to blow up, which is, I could rant on about pat testing for hours, but there's things like that. Another thing, public liability. Everybody didn't know what public liability is. Yeah, I can see some knows it. For those that you don't know, basically it's insurance. So if somebody trips over your gear, breaks their leg, you won't have to pay for it. I've got public liability of up to £10 million. Haven't needed to use it so far, any gig, but
Touch wood.
Yeah, touch wood. But you'll find when you're dealing with wedding venues, most places I play aren't music venues, they're hotels. The places that have said, oh, yeah, you can have a band at your wedding, and most of them aren't suitable. And they get told by their bosses that this is a list of things you need. You need pat testing, you need public liability. You'll never, more than not, they'll ask for it, but they'll never actually see it. But it's one of those things that you have to get. So, good thing to do if you're going to be gigging regularly. Public liability, there's loads of different places, but if you're a student, the Musicians Union is basically the place to go, because you go and join them up, they give you the public liability insurance. You also get a lot of other benefits.
Get a free diary.
Yeah, you get a free diary, this big, it's got dates in it, it's fantastic.
It's for your organisation, full circle.
I use my phone. I've got the calendar, clicky. Anyway, public liability. Another thing, equipment insurance. It's a lot of things that a lot of musicians don't do because they think, my stuff's never going to get stolen. My stuff's never going to break. It is going to get stolen. It is going to break. Get it sorted. If you're going to be a full-time pro musician, you need to have insurance. And again, it's just other things apart from like your basic insurance and things like that. Just making sure you've got all the information for gigs. It's like when you get booked for a client, make sure you've got the address of the place. Make sure you've got the name of the person you need to speak to at the venue. All these things make a massive difference. If you've got as much information as possible, then when it goes tits up, it's not your fault. If you're prepared and stuff and something goes wrong, the best thing to say is, wasn't my fault.
What's another thing that people often don't remember is just being physically fit as well. I mean, like eating properly and drinking lots of water.
Yeah,
if you're on tour,
yeah,
because our first tour and everyone just was having lots of fun with the promoters, and we're in Germany. The beers are lovely in Germany.
I get so many free bars at weddings, but I can't touch it.
Me too.
It's like, well, for one, if I have a pint of beer, I start burping when I'm singing. Not very professional. I've got around it. Just head off the mic a bit. But yeah. If you're going to be a pro musician, if you're going to be gigging, like, even once a week, you can't get drunk the night before. You're doing a gig hungover. It's just horrible. And it's like, even things like drinking too much while you are playing. There is nothing worse knowing that you've got another 50 minutes to play and you're bursting for a piss. It is horrible. Just keeping yourself fit and healthy. Because gigging is a very physical thing, jumping around, singing, playing an instrument, putting on a good show. It's a physical thing, and especially in function work, it's like you've done all that gig, you've spent all that energy, but then you've got another hour of packing down, you've got another hour of taking your equipment out of the place, downstairs, then you've got to pack it into the van, then you've got another 2-hour drive home. It is a lot more physical. If none of you have not really done a lot of gigs, it's a lot more physical than you realise. So yeah, just keeping yourself in shape.
Also, when you're in a van, claim your farts as well. It just saves a lot of time in the long run. If you're in the middle, near Nuremberg or something like that, and someone just traffic get jam, it's just the morale just sinks. So
and stinks.
I mean, like on claiming things as well. Weird segue from but if you want to be pro musicians on your own or within a group, there's that awkward conversation when the money starts coming in of who gets it, who's responsible, and it's a really awkward conversation.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm sure you are studying about artistic rights and physical rights and all that there, but get on the PPL when you've got some good music on the go and it's out there. PRS as well. Do you know about the PPL and the PRS? Yes. All very quiet. These musicians thought you'd be a bit more rowdy.
The music students, they're naturally polite.
True.
Yeah.
There is a crowd up in Liverpool called Centric Music, which will actually help you with some of your collection stuff. And instead of being on the PPL or the PRS, is there a fee these days?
No, they
take it out of first.
Technically, there is still a small.
There is a fee, but you don't have to pay anything up front. It's basically if you make money, then they'll take their cut from the first thing.
There's a registration fee online though.
Is there?
Yeah. It's like a tenner, isn't it?
Yeah, they say it doesn't cost. Well, no, they take a tenner out of your initial fees,
Yeah.
but
That was a long time ago.
there's a registration fee as well of about 20 quid.
Oh,
I got stung with that.
Chic.
Yeah,
So
it's
the
like the
difference
admin
with-
fee thing. For
And you have to
booking
submit all
tickets.
the stuff yourself as well. You have to physically go, my song was played in a pub in blah blah blah. You have to do all that. You still have to do it with Centric, but they'll actually go and do all the collection and put it in your bank account and things like that for you. You can get paid twice a year off Centric. The nice, unique opportunity with Centric is when you register songs with them, they sort of monitor it being gigs. You have to submit that you've played them, and they'll get you money for you that way. But stuff online or on the radio and stuff like that, they collect all that for you, which saves you a headache. The nice thing is they have lots of really good relationships with sync organisations. So they put your music catalogue out to, they work exclusively with Channel 5, for example. I know it's probably like,
But money's money.
but money's money is right, yeah. So when there was that weird bit between, because when Big Brother moved across, Channel 4 actually owned the rights to Paul Oakenfold's tune, which is the intro. Is it still the intro on Channel 5?
I don't know.
No, because I don't watch that shit. But they had big bother with that, so they went to Centric and went, well, we're going to need a new song for Big Brother. That's huge. It's going to get played how many times a day and online when someone streams it, whatever. So there's an opportunity for you when we're talking about opportunities. Get signed up with Centric, and actually it's a 30-day rolling contract. So as soon as you don't like it, I mean, they work like the PRS and things like that. They work with them, and they take their fee. But it's just a really like, when you're starting out and you've got like Facebook, Twitter, your EPK, booking gigs, making sure your image is right, making sure you're not falling out with your bands, making sure you've drunk enough water, making sure you're getting to class on time, whatever. It's one less headache for you to worry about. So I recommend Centric.
You mentioned about writing songs and things like that. I've always found, just personally, if you're writing with other people and you've written a song, the best time to figure out the percentages of royalties of like music and lyrics and things is literally when you've just finished it. Because 6 months down the line, you're going to forget who wrote which bit. So as soon as you've written a song, figure out who's done what. Because you're going to forget.
Just have it in an email. It doesn't have to be like a contract or anything. Just have it written down.
Just have it written down. Say this person wrote 25% of this person like that, and that's that. And it's done. And then you don't need to worry about it later.
And managers and record labels and all that there, Caper, when you're making
swine.
Yeah, they'll love all that though, because it's there.
Yeah,
you're not going into a boardroom to
prepare.
shout at each other.
It shows you're taking it seriously.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Sorry guys, we're going to need to sort of wrap it up now. I know it's a shame to kind of end it. Are there any final points you want to make before we end the session?
I was just going to say the one thing we haven't touched on, which is a very small point, but it's absolutely massive at talking about sort of risk and that kind of is morale. There are times when it might be like the day after a really, really great concert, and you still might just have a big slump, and just finding ways to keep yourself up, really, because that's the thing I've found is the one thing that's very difficult to risk manage against, because it's all about, it's all up in, it's your sort of artistic side kind of speaking to you, but it's as important as being, physically healthy and having contracts is morale, because it's the one thing that will completely kill a project off is depression. And
that's really difficult when it's like physically you can't stop your body from pumping adrenaline around it. That's how you deal with it.
So have you got to the stage now then where you maybe build into your timetable some sort of some kind of mitigating factor against that morale dropping? Is there something that you do? Or?
I think everyone has different all kinds of things. I guess some people would use yoga. I don't use anything like that. But okay. I find personally having more than one project happening, one main one which is your band, which is your money and your touring, but also just like the blog or something like that, things that make you think slightly differently or from a slightly different angle on what you're doing. That will really help you kind of keep the perspective.
So stick something in the mix that takes your mind off.
Yeah. Because music used to be that, didn't it?
Yeah.
And it becomes your 24-hour life, so you don't have that as an escapism anymore.
Yeah.
Mine's football now, but...
Yeah, but you've got something else that kind of...
Yeah, that's why I was depressed last year, because City won the league, you know?
Yeah. I find Quantum Leap very helpful.
And if you're lucky, that other activity, you might be able to monetize it as well.
Yeah.
But then that becomes a thing, and then you've got to get another thing.
I just want to quickly talk about doing function work, doing covers for a living. I found when I was younger, especially when people are first discovering music, that a lot of my friends turned their noses up at doing covers, doing other people's songs, because they thought it was beneath them. And that's just a form of musical snobbery, which is only going to limit you. If you play other people's songs, regardless of getting paid, it gives you a whole catalogue of songs to learn from. It makes you a better musician, knowing how songs are crafted. But then going back to the money side, it is the only way, really, in the music industry to make instant money from music, is you do a gig, you get paid for it, you know how much you're getting paid for it, and it's a fantastic way of freeing up your time to then concentrate on other things that you want to do. What else I was going to say about it? That was one more point. And also, a lot of the best musicians that I know are pro function players. And you don't know, I've started bands with other pro function players and they've been fantastic because they're at the top of the game. And you don't know where these are going to lead. So if you start becoming a freelance pro musician, you will get a head road into a lot of things. I've got friends who, just by being a pro musician, have done tours with people like Westlife, and they get a lot of money for things like that. Just a lot of touring bands always need pro musicians, so you never know where it's going to lead. And my last tip is, if you're going to be a pro musician, invest in earplugs. I have tinnitus and I've had it for 5 years now. first I didn't realise what it was. Fortunately for me, I can cope with it, but I know so many people who didn't use earplugs and they're screwed now. So
It's across the board. If you're a manager or whatever.
yeah, if you're
working
going to
with
be
music.
involved in music, even if you go into a club and stuff and you're a promoter, the level of sound is higher than you're going to realise. So invest in a pair of ER20s. Just Google ER20s.
Whatever you might be
earplugs.
wearing them when they're taking the piss out of you, but at least you're
I
going
have
to
them-
hear when you're 70.
I have earplugs on me at all times because even if I go into a pub which is noisy, I can pop them in.
Yeah.
Because if you can't hear,
Yeah, you've
You
lost your
can't play.
tools, haven't you?
Yeah.
Your trade, that's your main tools. It's like a brickie losing his bricks. You know what I mean? He's not going to be able to lay a wall, is he?
Yeah.
Alright, so lose your hearing, you're not going to be able to sound engineer, play along, go
not
and
even
manage
going to
bands,
be able to
judge
have
bands,
conversations.
conversations.
Just
yeah.
normal, like it will
Communication
affect
skills.
your entire life.
Yeah.
Earplugs.
So it was a bit of a scary tone there.
It's true though.
It is true,
It is
yeah,
true.
yeah.
What? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I better wrap that up now because we've actually gone over. Just before everyone goes, could we have a round of applause, please? Just let me say who for. This needs to go out to all the panel members. Thank you very much for coming and doing your bit. For Jamie as well, thank you for playing. Also for all the media crew who've been doing all the filming today. It's been fantastic. The sound technicians, so John and Andy, and the stage technicians who've set up the stage and organised all that. I don't think I've forgotten anyone. If I have, I'm really sorry. Your efforts are very, very, very much appreciated. Thanks a lot, and if we could have a round of applause for
And
all
thanks
those
to
people.
Ben.